Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the European crossover webinar. And we're going to go and take a look at see where actually we already have the dollar index right here. I'm going to switch that to Facebook. And take a look what we stand here with the euro. So we're actually trading it for a pretty quiet session here in the euro. You can see here we came back with a stout return move yesterday here in the euro, and really you saw that across most of the dollar pairs yesterday. Take a look at the cable. Same thing. They basically just almost mirror each other right now. Look at that. Cable was really just a huge move. Take a look at the Aussie dollar. All of them pretty much the same across the board. So once again, like I said, we're trading a fairly quiet session. We'll take a look at what the data is that we have for today. Did have a GDP, which came in just a little bit better, a hair bit better than expected. And as we roll into the States, we will also have GDP here at 8:30 Eastern. And let's take a look here. And consumer confidence at 10 a.m. Eastern, along with existing home sales in Richmond Fed. Of course, like I said, things are going to start winding down a bit as we get pretty close to Christmas. And we did see a pretty good strong comeback, much stronger than I would have thought in the indices. Let's see here. And they did go in and pass that stimulus, but we saw the equities going in and fade, but they've actually come back. And let's see here. Right here with the NASDAQ. Also take a look here with the S&Ps. You can see here. Both of them holding. Actually, the S&P's holding just above 2-day VWAP. And you can see here with the NASDAQ, that actually held into that same area yesterday, that 12,645. They've come snap right back, and so really this is really open to potentially move higher. I actually have a short here, so I'm kind of stuck now. I was thinking that we were going to go on and drop back a little bit further, so we'll see what happens. We'll get back to the main screen. One of the concerns or thoughts yesterday that people have an eye on is the VIX, which actually has been holding above this 20 area. And yesterday, with all the volatility, spiked rather quickly above 30 and managed to close just above 25. We're just hanging around there. So the thought was that we're open or susceptible, I should say, to a pullback because they quickly moved so fast over 30 and still managed to close at the time above 25 that the market's a little bit concerned that we could go and see a little bit of a slide. We'll see whether that matriculates or not. Looking at some of the other pair, we'll take a look at Tesla. Actually had a pretty good close. But that was on Friday, and then here we are on the daily. So apologize from the 2-hour chart. So we did see a pretty good strong close. Look at the sharp comeback. We're a little bit quieter in the pre-market hours. Let's see the daily. There we go. So we did go in and close down here. So this big pullback on Friday, closed here yesterday, and we're kind of dipping a little bit lower, not a whole lot. Um, see how Netflix did. Still held up and came back rather decently. The others came back with quite a bit of gusto, such as Microsoft and Apple. Look at this. Oh my God, look at Apple at 131. This really came back from the depths and really just even took out. And remember, we had talked about on the daily, this was key, this 129, and 130.42 is a 78%. So if this thing's traded at 131, we're just above that. Amazon saw a decent little comeback, but it still remains below this 32.20. So with that, we'll just go on and hit the news. Australian dollar slips, shrugging strong sales data. The Australian dollar was lower against the greenback at a low volume session Tuesday, shrugging strong retail sales data as a new strain of COVID-19 weighs on the market sentiment ahead of the Christmas holiday long weekend. The Aussie was 19 basis points lower at 75.72 in Asian trading, following a roller coaster session on Monday that saw it recover after rallying over 2% to close at 75.87. Despite action, recent declines, both currencies are on track for their second consecutive month of gains, rallying in recent weeks as prospects of the vaccine-fueled global recovery next year boosted risk assets and toppled the safe haven US dollar. Doesn't matter where you look at it. Anything just had an extreme move to the top side over the last couple of months, says Stephen Dooley. That creates conditions that what we see investors taking profits or more of a sell-off over the next few days. Both currencies have also been buoyed by the outperformance of the domestic economies, where the coronavirus has been mostly contained, and the broad strength of the global commodity prices. But fears that a highly infected new strain of COVID-19 that shut down much of Britain could lead to a slower global economic recovery is triggering across risk assets. In Australia, the subdued sentiment and an outbreak in Sydney also extended losses in equities, with investors shrugging off figures on Tuesday showing retail sales soared 7% in November, led by the Christmas shopping. And the spread of the virus mutation keeps euro and pound under pressure. The euro and the pound were on the defensive against the dollar on Tuesday as a new strain spread across Britain, closing the key trade route and creating supply chain nightmare while time was running out to strike a post-Brexit trade deal. Talks between French and British governments to reopen their borders, where hundreds of trucks are stranded, and reports suggesting movement in Brexit talks have, however, helped to take some of the pressure off both currencies. The British currency was only flat, was also flat at 90.95 pence, often after sustaining heavy losses and amid the transport crisis on Monday. New hope for a deal before December 30th in talks between British Prime Minister and French President on the supply of goods to the island have again nurtured new hope and made the euro pound briefly look below the 91 market. Another positive for the pound was data showing that the country's economic recovery from its coronavirus crash was at a quicker than previously thought in the July-September period. The dollar index, which measures the currency strength, rose 16 tenths at 90.27. And the dollar's gains come in as the market is heavily positioned for a weaker greenback and pricing a pandemic recovery that lifts commodity price and benefits exporters at the expense of the greenback. With that, we're just going to move into the analysis. So the euro posted a stellar comeback, dipping to the 21.28 before recovering above 22. Resistance for Tuesday will be 22.66 with support at 21.61. Oh, 21.61. And onto cable. So cable saw a sharp rebound following a piercing loss in the European session. Resistance on Tuesday will be 35.06 with support at 33.16. But like I said, everything's trading pretty quiet. So the Aussie, like the other dollar pairs, saw a furious rally back by the end of the day. Resistance on Tuesday will be 76.25 with support at 75.26. And onto the Kiwi. So the Kiwi posted a solid return rally on Monday. Resistance will be 71.21 with support at 70.48. And let's go and move on to the dollar CAD. So the dollar CAD, after a nice short covering rally, gave up some of its gains. Resistance will be 29.09 with support at 28.02. And onto the peso. Well, Mir says if you can take a look at platinum, and if you can do the stock GMDA, I don't even know who that is, but yeah, after we do the FX, we can take a look at that. Let's see on the dollar peso. So the dollar peso saw a fiery rally to 2067 that turned into a smolder by the end of the day, closing at 1998. Support for Tuesday will be 1989 with resistance at 2026. So the dollar yen rallied toward the broken trend line, falling short of 104. Resistance for Tuesday will be 368 with support at 309. And onto the cash dollar index. So the dollar index saw a rally to 91 that eventually fizzled, closing near 90. Resistance will be 90.51 with support at 89.84. And of course, we've got wide ranges right now in light of everything that had happened. Uh, And obviously, just like the other Kiwi pairs, we saw this big rebound back up in here. Resistance is going to be right there, the close of that body or open the body, which can be 73.40. Support's going to be right here, right there, on that one, which is actually where we're at right now. Probably should give a little bit more room, but right there today, 72.94. And boy, look at this. What a spike yesterday. Sheesh. In the euro pound. Resistance, what looks like they're contained at the moment. So for now, today it's going to be right there. Resistance at 91.53. And support, it's going to be right there. Key level 90.56. And on to the euro one. Well, we saw a pretty big jump up here, but we came back, and here we are powering again, and resistance is going to be right there. You can see it coming across this body, these wicks right there. That'll be right there, which would be 61.96. And support right there, 61.38. And take a look at the Euro Kiwi. Same thing, posting some pretty good numbers up in here. Pretty good little run so far. You can see this body here, and they are having some trouble, so we'll go right there, which is 73.24. And support is going to be this lower wick right there. Not lower wick, but top of the wick coming right across here. That would be 72.39. And depending on how you look at it, you could either say there was a bit of a hammer, or actually it could be a hanging man if we, depend on how we play this out over the next few days. But resistance would be right there, but actually we're under some pressure. But it would still be there, which would be 78.53. And support, you can see that 77.76, which would be key. We already had that. And then on to the guppy. Very, very quiet session in here. Super quiet. There isn't anything definitive here. The closest thing you have is this wick here, which is kind of confluencing here with this body and open here. And we'll go with that for now, which isn't saying much. 39.10. With support, keeping it simple right against that 38.09. And starting on, pretty solid comeback, but this is going to be the resistance here, which is 76.25. And support's going to be right there at that level, 76.68. And a mirror window look at platinum. Boy, did this thing really clean some stops here. And we came back rather strongly. It's trading in a very tight range today. The resistance is going to be right there. You can see that because this is where the market had made another stand. We closed and then we kind of opened here. So it's going to be right there at that open, which is 10.16. And support, you can see that it's clear right there, is going to be 9.89, which that's been a key level for. And you can see, although they blew through it, they came back. They're defending it today. So it's 9.89 and 10.16. And then he says the stock GMDA. Well, you can see the resistance right there. You see the body right there? That's going to be resistance right now, which is 9.51. And support is going to be this lower wick, 8.52. And on a bigger picture, you could almost look at this almost like as a harami, which is called a pregnant lady. And certainly it's open to a downside move, potentially. And you can see how this is. We break on that, and you can see right there and how key that is here. You see, 874. So if that's going to open us up and would really put us in a little bit of a world of hurt. But that's where we stand on that. There's Tesla. And moving back to the main screen, or not the main screen, but onto equities. Excuse me. And you can see how strong the NASDAQ is holding here. And you can see it defended this 1260.45 a second time. And look at this 2-hour close. So that's key. Now, whether or not we fade back from that, we'll just have to see. But you can see everything looks pretty solid, at least for now. We're pairing back. I mean, we cleaned some stops here. We'll see what happens. But this is a pretty good solid defense and a good close on the 2-hour. Take a look here on the S&Ps. Pretty good stout move back here on the 2-hour. And I did want to go and cover, this is a pretty good move back here also, which was on the Russell. That was a pretty good stout move back. Look at that. That came back very strongly and had the potential, could have, put itself in a weakened state, but it didn't. So that was key and really kind of led the charge back yesterday to a certain extent. And then, of course, you have to keep an eye on the VIX. As I said, we had this bottoming action here. Call this. Right there. The concern was how quickly we moved above 30. And try and see where. How fast we quickly moved above that 30. And there's some concern that that puts the market in a bit of a vulnerable state, that it could quickly just, if the market starts to pare back, we could quickly start to see this thing take off again. And closing right around this 25 area, you can see they actually closed at 25. That's what's kind of got this market a little bit worried. We have a nice little base here at 20. We quickly jump out of the gates above 30. We come back and we close to 25. So the thought is, if we start to come back here a little bit off of equities, that we could quickly see volatility come right back in and could, cause a pullback. Right now, we're kind of looking steady here because it's come back, but we'll see how the rest of the day plays out. That's what we have for today. And thanks for joining us here in the European Crossover webinar.